Alright, let's get into the video.
According to CBS News, 50-year-old stay-at-home husband David Tronis desperately wanted to appear on reality television. In late April of 2018, he managed to secure himself a spot on the show Zombie House Flipping, where he would be featured renovating his newly bought house with his then-wife, 39-year-old financial consultant Shanti Cooper. The only problem was that Shanti wasn't nearly as interested in being on TV, so she refused to sign off on the program, which resulted in David beating and then strangling her to death in the early hours of the following morning. He called 911 roughly 12 hours later at 3:51 p.m.
Wait, first of all, turn on captions. That is fucking insane. He killed his wife because she didn't want to be on TV. They're just gonna drop it like that? Yeah, they really said how it was. my wife didn't want to go on reality TV, so I had to kill her.
Hello?
Jesus Christ. Oh, God.
Okay, listen to me. Can you tell me what your address is?
Police and paramedics soon arrived at the residence where they were met with a hysterical David performing CPR on Shanti in the living room. His immediate explanation was that he found her lying unconscious in a partially filled bathtub, bleeding from the nose and mouth. He was then taken to the police station as a witness, where they swapped out his blood-stained clothing for a custody suit. He was also given a water, a blanket, and a box of tissues, then taken to room 6, where he was reassured that someone would be right with him to answer his questions, which wasn't entirely true. He was left in there by himself for 4 hours and 9 minutes before he knocked on the door to use the bathroom.
Wow. Wait, now think about it, dude. 4 hours is a long time just getting put to sit on that. That's the psychological shit. Because they leave them there purposefully to see the body language, don't they? Okay, I don't know what I'm yapping about, but can I, from the neuroscientist in chat, can I get a yippee or a yay? I mean, did they know he did it by this? Well, probably not, right? So I'm guessing they're trying to figure out like what happened. Obviously, just because he's the husband and he's crying doesn't mean he's off loose. No, they didn't know. He just said that like he that he found her dead.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to bother you. May I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
It wouldn't take a genius to recognize that David's behavior is already suspicious. Ask yourself if you'd be acting like this in the scenario he's claiming to be in.
Yeah,
You find your
his wife,
significant
bro.
other unresponsive in a bathtub. Then police leave you in a cold room for 4 hours without telling you anything. You might just ask someone, what the hell is going on? Or what the status of your wife is, and you probably wouldn't be all that polite and apologetic for just trying to use the bathroom. He returns from the bathroom and sits there for another 3 minutes. The detectives will now enter the room to commence the interrogation. The time is 9:08 p.m.
Because if they thought he was just a witness, a husband, dealing with it, leaving there alone for 4 hours to deal with these emotions, it's still crazy. Exactly, like... Yeah, that's insane now I think about it. 4 hours. Imagine your wife just fucking died. Like, you'd be like... I'm sure you'd be reacting a little bit more than this. This guy's trying to be like nonchalant. But I mean, since he killed her, fuck him. Yeah, on God, bro.
Sir,
Hey.
I'm Detective Sprague. Can I get your first name?
First name is David.
David? Okay. We're gonna grab another chair.
Okay.
Did you need something?
I was just asking for a bottle of water.
Okay, so we can grab you.
Thank you.
Have you been to the restroom?
I just want.
You just want. Okay. How about anything else? Anything else?
I'm starving. A cracker or just something.
You and
Just
me
with some
both.
salt, right?
Did you eat lunch? I did not eat lunch.
Don't be fooled by the detective's disposition. They're already certain that David has committed either first or second-degree murder, but they don't quite have enough evidence to place him under arrest, which is why...
Dude. Shouldn't have given him water to blanket. Let they can't freeze. Oh, okay. It's a psychological shit. Because he thinks that they're just there to consult with him, but they didn't know. They don't know that he's number one. Yeah, to be fair, if there's no like, who else would it be? You don't randomly get killed. You know. Yeah, but it's pretty cool. Like, how cool would it be to be a detective? Well, I guess you could deal with some fucked up things, but I always thought it'd be pretty cool. It's like problem solving, right? Yeah, they'd be working fast.
why they need a confession. David at this moment is still free to walk out of that police station, so the detectives will keep the tone sympathetic
true.
and non-confrontational for the time
Bruising,
being to
if
keep
you
him
were
on that
strangled, you would
chair.
have
They'll
bruising.
afford him the false belief they are buying into his act as the grieving husband. But as soon as he gives them his initial version of events, the pressure will rapidly accelerate, in a manner that David is in no way anticipating.
What would you like to eat? And I'll run down.
Just something simple. Just like saltines or peanut butter crackers. Or
Anything
something.
like that? Okay,
Yeah.
that's not a problem. We'll be right back.
Here's your water, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I can take that one.
Yes.
Okay, things. Okay, is that good?
Perfect.
All right. I'm with you. I haven't eaten since this morning. I'm sorry this is taking so long. You are David, I believe? Okay, all right. I'm Detective Teresa Sprague, and this is Detective Barb McClelland.
Hey.
First of all, on behalf of the Atlanta Police Department, we want to say how sorry we are for your loss.
So this is the first out of
Nah, this guy's a dummy. This is some porn acting. What am I watching? Boy, just like what? Do not piss me off. Like what? No, you know what I mean. Like it's just shitty acting. No, not like that. Keep going.
a total 11 of David's fake cries.
I'm talking about. Oh, you're talking about do not piss him. Oh, my bad.
Intensity
I'm just used to annoying you. Click play. My bad.
level will peak about halfway through this video, during some of the more embarrassing performances you're ever likely to
What was that? The man.
witness on the internet.
tripping.
But from that moment on, you'll notice these acts steadily diminish, as the detective makes it more and more abundantly obvious that she knows he's lying.
David, and also for everything that you're going through. I know this is very traumatic for you.
Nah,
Okay.
this guy's him.
They
and
start
acting.
by collecting David's basic information.
And he just
Okay.
stops
Who
crying
you
instantly.
brown hair?
I love both.
Who you love? Okay.
6'2".
Okay.
Damn, bro. I would marry him.
Hazel eyes, maybe?
I'll take Hazel.
Blue, hazel. Okay.
They're
How does
pretty-
one have blonde and brown eyes?
Is there a home phone?
There is.
Okay.
I can't remember the last four digits. It's 407. The next three are easy. 704, the opposite. And I never call it.
The next three are
He
704.
just strangled
It's
his
407,
wife,
704.
and you're gonna
and then
marry
I
him.
think it's
Not in that way.
2808. It might be 2406.
Look, he's a pretty
but I have
physically
it on my
attractive
phone.
dude, bro.
Haven't.
I'll
We've
give him
had it
a-
since we were at Briar
A good
Cliff
7
When
out of
did you
10.
move to Florida?
Oh,
2013.
Okay.
About
stop
5 months
speaking,
after
lol.
I
I'm the
showed-
streamer. I'ma react.
Did you meet her here or there?
No, why?
You met online? Okay. Can you tell me what year that was?
It was 2013.
2013 is when you met online?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah,
about
this
5
this
months
dude
later, did you
timing.
move here and move
This guy is timing his crying wrong. He needs to time it better.
in with her or just move here?
I'll try to be as accurate as possible. I believe it's the end of September.
So you guys knew each other approximately 5 years this month.
Oh, okay, master manipulator. That's me.
Love, we're so happy.
Okay. If you don't, I know you've probably never been through anything like this in your life, okay? And I'm going to help you get through it. If you have questions, you want to stop me, please do so, okay? But I do need you to understand your rights before we ask you about anything that happened in that home today, okay? All right. You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand that? I'm sorry?
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. Anything you say may be used.
I gotta say that was a good play, but undertoning the yes, it's like it's giving off scared. It's giving off anxious. Like they caught on to that shit.
Against you in court. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
Absolutely? Okay. All right. So I need you to we're going to continue kind of down this path about how you all met. I know you met on Match.com.
Hold up a second, I might need to join that shit. You're not a psychiatrist. Who knows, maybe I am.
And about 5 months of, what would it be, telephone, text, and...
We just started
Not with that
every
hair.
other weekend.
They hit it off, moved in together, then went looking for a house to buy in Florida.
We had an offer on a short sale and waited and waited and waited, and it fell through. And then we closed on the house on Copeland in April of 2015.
So you guys own the house free and clear. Is your name only on it, or was it both of yours?
When we bought the house, we weren't married, and so we put it in a trust, and we just completed the trust paperwork.
He put the house in his and his mother's names while leaving his wife out of it for, quote, planning and financial reasons. He asserts the decision was mutual, but whether Shanti actually knew about this or not is unclear.
And so once you moved to Florida, you've been living together the whole time, just home to home, just first with the folks, then Briarcliff, and then this residence. But you've been together the whole time. Have you ever broken up?
We had a couple fights, I think when we were living at Briarcliff.
Okay.
We spent a few nights apart.
He says that he just spent a few nights with his mom, then drifts off into a statement about how Shanti was dedicated to work. The detective will now cut him off and steer the line of questioning back to the argument.
But she's
So
a strong
when you
business.
guys would argue, when you would go to your mom's, it was just because she was busy all the time, or what would the beef be?
Her work had a lot of stress involved,
Oh.
and she would sometimes.
Dude, his wife just died. You would think this guy would be a little
we
bit
always
more,
agreed,
you know,
later that she
empathetic,
was just
sympathetic, whatever
overworked
pathetic,
and,
you know?
tired and
So she'd get a little snippy or short or yell, scream, what?
just irritable.
Irritable.
Just small irritability. And sometimes it's just that's not really, I don't really do that. It's not really, I'm just gonna stand there.
Well,
So
he
I
killed
just-
her, in case you forgot that
I
part.
would
Oh,
just
yeah,
say,
he
"Oh,
did.
take a break," or just let it, a little cool down period. And every time we did it, we came back. I think we only did it twice, but we were stronger.
Okay. And has that happened since you moved where you are now? Because now we've got the added stress of the renovation.
No, we love it. We love the.
This is Keith Ory, the producer of the house flipping show that David wanted to be on.
When you would be interacting with the Torontos related to your work on the house and also the show, who was your primary point of contact?
Oh, Dave was. He would communicate her desires. I would see her, but it was more like Dave's full-time job, almost, I guess I would say.
Did you ever know during your time that you knew Dave to have any other job?
I was aware that he had explained to me that he had worked for a chemical company up north somewhere.
I actually never knew what Dave did for a living. When my husband had asked him, he said he was into sales, but I don't really know what that means.
David never worked in sales or at a chemical company. You're now about to see Keith explain that he insisted on having a formal sit-down with Shanti to make sure that she was fully on board.
It was difficult to get them both together, but I explained ultimately that we couldn't go forward if I wasn't able to sit down with them both.
Ultimately, you're able to get this sit-down scheduled. Tell the jury about that meeting.
I arrived at the house to meet Dave and Shanti, and she was, by my estimation, unhappy to be there. And it was in a sort of a tense state. It was obvious that she was unhappy with something, and she was only there as long as she absolutely had to be, and then left.
This all occurred 6 days before Shanti was murdered.
We love what we're doing to the house. We love the vision that we had for the house. It's totally, she wanted so bad.
It's always what she wanted so bad, it's crazy.
It was a thing that we did together. She wanted to quit her job. when we got the house done, or just kind of, slowly phase out of it. She thought, a couple of times that she would really need to take a break, and definitely slow down, and definitely not add a whole lot more work. She could do more if she wanted to. I'm sorry, I can't talk about it.
I just got cancelled by my Gigi. This gay gay means gay. There's nothing wrong with being gay.
That's very
I'm
normal.
very happy.
That's very normal. Because you're not going to process this for a really long time. So I know it feels like a really bad day.
Now notice how quickly he manages to pull himself out of the depths of despair and into casually talking about his house flipping show.
Keith also does, our lives are busy, I'm so sorry, I know you're asking simple questions, but Keith does a TV show, a home improvement.
Keith, the guy you mentioned, Ori? Okay.
It's called Zombie House Flipping.
Keith asked them to be on the show,
which meant that
what are those?
We would get a lot of
what are those called? A Lavender Marriage? Would it
promotional
be covering it up
sponsorship
low?
to do?
Yeah. It's a Lavender Marriage.
Financial
It's like
incentive
to be a gay.
Big.
But, like,
that's what they call trade. I'm sorry, that's what they call.
Oh, interesting backstory. I'm not sure if you care. You're gonna say you don't care because I can predict you that easily. But my chemistry teacher, was actually gay, and I'm pretty sure he had a Lavender Marriage. Yeah, I don't care. Oh, okay, whatever.
Right up. So their sponsors. That's one of the things I was working on yesterday. I was putting together a list of the sponsorships, the windows, doors, cabinets. And so maybe instead of getting granite, you get quartz, or maybe instead of getting, middle range cabinets, you get high-end stuff. And we're also working on kind of just an amazing open concept stairway in the middle of the house that was going to go all the way up to the loft.
And so they'd come in and start filming? Mm-hmm. Would they film you all or just the work?
No. Yeah, it's just the house. They're the stars.
Pay no attention to David's no. He fully understood that he would be featured prominently on the show as the main builder construction guy. The so-called stars he's talking about are the hosts. The detective will now establish a timeline.
So when she comes home Sunday, it's you, Jackson, and Shanti, and you just stay at home and have a pool get together?
We only have them every other Sunday. It's our family day, and we do like to have an early meal, watch a movie.
So, do you recall Sunday night about what time everybody goes to sleep, since you're all
We go to
the same?
bed early on school nights, so 8:30 we're winding down. 9 o'clock lights are low.
Shanti's son gets picked up the next day at around 5 p.m.
5 p.m.-ish, okay.
Yeah, facts.
All right, and then do you guys go anywhere, do anything, or you stay at home?
I think we made dinner together that night. And,
so that would have been Monday night. Did you watch TV?
we did.
Any idea what?
American Idol.
Okay, so
Why is he talking so ooh? That's some me shit. I'm not gonna lie.
you wake up Tuesday morning and you're in the garage on the couch?
Mm-hmm. I usually wait for her to come down. She came down after 7 o'clock, probably almost 7:30.
Shanti went back upstairs and David started doing chores around the house. He's now about to mention the last time he supposedly saw Shanti alive and then break into another fake hysteric. Yet this time, he will get no reassuring feedback from the detective and the charade will rapidly dissipate.
Clean up, just normal routine. But she came down again. That's how I saw it.
She came down again, and what happened?
Came down, and I've thought about it. I've tried to think exactly what time it is, but I don't know exactly. I would say probably 9:15. And the reason I know that is
she said she was going to the dentist, and he said he was going for a walk. He now attempts another fake cry, but gets ignored again.
And
did you take the dogs for a walk?
W
I went
detective.
for a walk.
She
By yourself?
sees through his
Myself.
bullshit.
Where'd you go?
I went around Lake Lucerne and went to Orange.
He comes back home and feeds the dogs.
That's all that I can remember until I went upstairs to see when we were going to pick up Jackson.
Lol, these
Okay, and what happens when you
Yeah, they
enter
play the part at
home?
the
Is
start,
anything
so they get them talking, and then they
when you
don't
enter the garage apartment?
care.
So, I could hear the water is running, but it's not running. It's not like the sound of the shower running. It's just, it's trick.
You know what I always thought? Dude, if you asked me to recall everything that happened yesterday, I don't think I could do it. Like, I deadass don't remember anything. You know? Like, how did these guys be doing that shit, you know? Or is that just me? Yeah, I couldn't either. Facts. I'm not gonna tell you what I was doing at 3:22 p.m. Like, I just don't remember. Well, I had work, but like that's very easy. But like, if I was at home and I was just doing a bunch of random shit and you want the nitty gritty, but when it's traumatic, you wouldn't forget exactly what you're doing during the moment. That's true, but it wouldn't have been traumatic when they last met. If he's just not lying about it, I feel like if you go into too much detail, maybe you think that would lead you to like suspecting that they're guilty because they're making some bullshit up. I don't know.
Going out of the spout.
Okay, and so you walk toward the water that you're hearing?
Yeah, walking to the bathroom.
Okay.
Just in case you didn't catch the passive-aggressive nature of that response, here it is again without subtitles.
And so you walk toward the water that you're hearing?
Yeah, walking to the bathroom.
Okay.
Just look at David's face. Poor David really doesn't want to be getting grilled like this anymore. Keep in mind it's almost 11 p.m. He likely didn't get a whole lot of sleep the night before, and he's been acting his ass off all throughout the day. He'll at this point be exhausted and want nothing more than to get out of that police station. But he doesn't want to challenge the detective directly and risk losing her approval. Hence he throws out a weak little display of passive aggression to see if she'll pick up on the hint, but it of course gets ignored. She will simply continue pressing with an unsympathetic tone which will cause David to revert back to appeasement. He will then begin recounting the horrific circumstances under which he supposedly found Shanti. And as this unfolds, you will see a glaring disparity in David's emotional presentation.
The doors open, and what happens? What do you see?
I see her laying with her head in the right-hand corner, and it's just extremely awful, and it doesn't look natural. Obviously, she fell or something happened.
But you did shut off the water.
I did shut off the water and it drained, which tells me...
This guy switched up. Bro, listen.
happened.
He goes from his voice fucking trembling.
It doesn't look natural. Obviously, she fell.
And then 2 seconds later...
something happened.
But you did shut off the water.
I did shut off the water
and it drained,
which tells me I could hear it draining when I pulled her out. I could hear... So that... Okay, so I guess that...
This guy's talking about his dead wife from... They've been dating for 5 years. Oh, it was like 10 minutes later. Oh, I didn't catch that.
This is all weird,
but still,
right?
Look, like,
because
it's the
she's in there,
crazy,
the water's on, and it's draining. It doesn't make any... It just doesn't make sense.
And it's not on all the way. It's on how
like lukewarm, so just past half.
And she's face down. So the first thing you do is what, if you recall?
I reached out and grabbed her. I reached out and touched her right arm. The water is rose colored, so there's blood in the water itself. I can see a spot of blood.
And you pull her by her arms?
So I grabbed someplace on her arm. Tried to get kind of under it a little bit.
This little fake ass voice.
You said she seemed stiff?
I'm good, bro.
Yeah. Hard to move.
There's something so incredibly unnerving in the sound of the casual crunching of his snack as he recounts in precise detail the limp and lifeless body of his wife, so we'll spare you the rest of it.
I had to pull.
This should be the one part where this guy is like actually like shitting himself, like crying and everything. You're describing your dead body, your dead wife's body, and then this is like the most serious he is.
And Turner a couple of times. Then she felt cold. You asked how she felt. She felt cold.
She felt cold.
I grabbed the,
You grabbed the what?
We had, when we did the bedding, we took the mattress cover off to wash it.
The detective asks David to draw a map for the purpose of illustrating the timeline of his movements. She will now shift the line of questioning and begin to gradually intensify the pressure.
When was the last time the two of you argued?
Very briefly on Saturday, right before we left.
The argument was over the renovation. David likely admitted to this because Shanti's son was there for it.
The upstairs floor was very wavy, and the point of contention probably was, do we tear all of that out and put in new structure and trusses so we have a perfectly flat floor and then a perfectly flat ceiling? But I don't think it's an argument if Shanti and I are both on the same page and we're both just in agreement and upset reasonably and justifiably upset that it's taking longer. Shanti and I aren't fighting about it. Mm-hmm. We're both upset about the same thing.
Does she feel as though you don't listen to her?
No, I don't think so. She knows I listen.
Has any fight ever turned physical between the two of you?
No.
Okay. Has she ever hurt you, hit you,
2 hours 40.
struck you, threw anything at you?
No.
No. Have you ever harmed her physically?
No.
David continues to pretend that he doesn't notice the accusatory nature of the questioning, so the detective will now intensify the pressure to a significant degree.
She seems to shed.
Her injuries to me, David, seem really significant. More significant than from a soft tissue fall. More significant than from me tripping and falling and hitting my head and being knocked unconscious.
She elaborates on the inconsistencies while David just sits there and nods.
The issue I'm having with it is I absolutely think that she was deceased before you left to go to the park.
She repeats what she said a few more times, while David just keeps doing what he's doing.
Okay, so I think that you've told us a significant amount of information. You've been very cooperative. But I also think that you've left some stuff out.
Oh. You've left out that you
and I think
killed
you've
her.
left some stuff out that is maybe something got out of hand. Maybe you didn't mean for it to happen. Maybe you got upset. Maybe... But there's something that happened between the two of you before you left that house. Because she was deceased, or on her way to being deceased, before you left that house. Now, if there's an explanation, I want to hear it.
It's so bad, dude.
I told you
How terrible with the wife.
But you've left out something, David, because this woman has significant injuries. Okay, this is not from a fall. Did you harm Shanti in any way?
Absolutely not.
Did you choke her?
Absolutely not.
Did you strangle her?
Without question, no.
Did you beat her?
No.
Did you hit her with
This guy
anything?
looks cooked.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
At this point, you know you're kind of cooked, right? Do you think it's better to plead guilty straight away or not? Because if you plead guilty now, you get a lot less time than lying fully about it. I'd give up, lol. Dude, if they're interrogating you that hard, oh, I guess you can't really give it up after like you've been lying for the last like 10 hours. These are professional. They obviously know. That's true, but like, you know, sometimes they get it wrong. But people are like, they might think they're performing well, but there's so many like psychological like things that they just don't know they're doing. Whether it's like fidgeting or, you know, their tone of voice. You know, they can slip up at any time. It's pretty crazy.
Do you have injuries?
I do not. I do have some scratches from the bromeliads and from the bougainvillea.
Okay.
I do trim them myself.
Aside from the scratches from his plants, David had no injuries that could indicate a struggle. But this might explain why.
You noticed a single earring on the nightstand?
A single what?
Single diamond earring on the nightstand.
Yes.
Yeah, what was the significance of that?
Looks like she removed it before bed and didn't get a chance to remove the other one.
Because you believe that's when the attack occurred.
On the edge of the bed, where the blood was found on the side rail, yes. And I think when she turned to take that earring out, she didn't see it coming. Would you mind, just for me to be able to say David is a perfect gentleman and is in the clear and did not harm his wife, would you mind taking a polygraph and proving that to us?
Absolutely.
Okay. Would that be a possibility?
Bro thinks he can trick the polygraph. This guy's an idiot.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
The detective asks David if he wants another water, to which he says, sure. So she brings him a water and tells him they'll be right back with a polygraph machine. But instead of...
Dude, half the time that they leave for like hours, they always catch him slipping. Because then you can just see the anxiety as he waits, like every single time.
coming right back, they leave him in there for just over 2 hours, during which time they decide not to proceed with the polygraph, but simply ramp up the confrontation.
Hi. You doing okay?
Yeah, it's just,
Did you sleep a little?
I did.
I know you've got to be exhausted. Or at least mentally. Yeah.
I just want to point out some things to you that I think are unusual. There's so many, I really don't know where to begin, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that I find that the living arrangement, I find to be completely unusual for you to be primarily living downstairs.
I'm primarily living downstairs.
Well, sleeping.
It's kind of scary,
huh? I sleep down there, but I don't go down there till we're done with dinner. We're done watching TV or doing what we've done for the evening.
Okay, just hear me out.
Okay.
So you don't go upstairs during the day while she's working. You leave her alone, and then
Not entirely. I do go up there.
Okay.
But I don't work up there while she's on the phone because it's distracting. It's her office. I think that I've explained extremely well. She didn't sleep. She did, but you said.
He continues defending the fact that he was exiled to the garage.
I think it's an adjustment and a transition that she didn't feel like she could make right now because she couldn't afford the time that it would take.
But she's sleeping in the only part of the residence that's semi-comfortable.
No, that's why I said I was.
You're sleeping in the garage with the
attacking
dogs.
one of them. They push him more and make something, you know. That blonde girl gonna beat his ass.
how do you explain
Just like I'm gonna beat
this
yours.
woman's head being swollen, her eyes being black?
And would never, ever hurt her.
So when you pulled her out of the tub, you agreed with me that the water came out of the tub. There's not a spot of water on the floor, David. The carpet isn't wet.
Oh, that's a good one. There's no. She came out of the bathtub. There's gotta be water on the floor unless he was put in. He made a mistake. Oh, I wouldn't pick up on that. Damn, these guys are really good at their job.
The carpet isn't wet from where she was pulled out of the bathtub, sopping wet, all the way around to the front of the couch. The carpet's not wet. There's no blood on the carpet.
Notice how little David moves compared to the detective. It doesn't correlate with anything in particular. It's just sort of interesting to watch.
That's true.
My guess is she wasn't treating you very well.
He's gonna slip up.
And there's only so much
But like, as soon as you hesitate, like you're cooked.
anyone can take before they snap.
Appreciate the very kind things that you've said.
I'm missing what you're saying because of your suit that you're moving, but I'm kind of missing it. It's really loud, but I miss what you said because you're talking so low.
I'm sorry, it's falling out. I appreciate the things that you've said and the genuine consideration and thoughtfulness.
W big words.
Behind it.
David, you killed this woman.
I cooperated so I could give you all the information and all.
You cooperated because you thought that your language would overwhelm us, and you thought you could pull the wool over our
I
eyes.
didn't think there was any effort to do that.
All these tangents, all this flowery, fancy language,
answers to
all the
questions that you
details.
asked, to questions that you asked.
Wow, you really trying to play the guilty card now. You really trying to flip said I was cooperating.
You know, you fake cried for about 7 or 8 hours today. Not one tear came out of your eyes. Not one. Not one. Not on scene with the officers. Not in this room. You have fake cried over this woman's death since we made contact with you for hours. And every single time you fake cried, we wrote it down. Not one tear came out of your eyes. Not one.
Nope.
Okay? We've been extremely patient with you for a very long time. I am losing my patience at this point because
Yeah, the blondie going
there is
at it.
not a lick of remorse for what you did to this woman. Not even a little bit. You're staring at a woman you're telling us you're in love with, and you've done nothing the whole time. But close your eyes, huddle up, and protect your own ass. So we're just going to prove you're full of shit and solve this case. And I'm glad you think that's funny. I'm glad you think that's funny.
Oh, he's so cool.
The investigators would exit the room shortly after this moment, at 4:56 a.m. David would then sit there for a little over 2 hours before finally asking to go home. But before being driven back by one of the officers, they asked him if they could take his
He's so
photograph.
cooked.
He cheerfully obliged. Judging by his expression, he may have thought he had just gotten away with murder, but a grand jury indicted him 4 months later, and he was arrested at his mother's house. When he was told he was facing life imprisonment, and that the evidence against him was overwhelming, he started acting crazy, and went for the insanity defense. He was then sent to a maximum security psych unit, where he spent 5 years before a judge ruled him competent to stand trial. This is what he looked like on the day he was transferred back to jail. His trial began on October 12th and lasted 6 days. He maintained his plea of not guilty, with
4
his
months
official
later,
defense
oh
being
God.
that he was out of the house walking the dogs while an unknown intruder broke in and murdered Shanti.
You heard about the sleeping arrangement. You heard how
May I say, lawyers have so much aura, bruh. Well, I guess this is prosecutor, so it's a bit different. But still, like, oh no, it's still law. But dude, I wish I could do this shit. I wish I could be a lawyer. Anyway, yeah, that shit's kind of insane. The guy went the crazy route. He pretended to be fucking insane. That's crazy.
the defendant was sleeping in the garage with the dogs, while Shanti was staying in the essential, one-bedroom apartment, separate and apart from him. And this had been going on, for over a year. This was an intentional killing. A random stranger that comes into a house isn't going to, take the time that it takes to strangle a person, to move them to a tub. Not take anything? Doesn't make any sense. Leave no sign behind, no fingerprints, no DNA? That doesn't make any sense. You have the severe beating of Shanti. You have the injuries to both sides of her face. You have the fractured skull, the
Who knows?
swollen
Maybe
shut
the
eye,
burglar just really
the
didn't
damaged
like the
eye on
dog.
the other side. That you saw the intense bruising and bleeding in both sides of her mouth. This was a beating. So at some point in that beating, the defendant, and you can infer this from the facts, intended to cause the death. And he did it with a premeditated design. We ask that you convict him of first-degree murder. Thank you.
The defense mainly tries to evoke empathy for the defendant, but it ends up just roasting the fake crazy out of him.
Shanti's the only source of the income. She's the breadwinner. He does nothing other than take care of the pool and the dogs. It's about circumstantial evidence, pure supposition, all steered by Teresa Sprague, who prejudged this case based upon a phone call received from her from an officer at the scene about these crocodile tears. This is just a hunch, ladies and gentlemen. A hunch. If you hear horse, if you hear hooves, think horses, not zebras, sort of thing. Because that's the point. You don't get to fit a square peg in a round hole because it's convenient. And that's what happened here. with the rush to judgment, with
Facts.
the confirmational
Square peg in a
bias,
round hole.
those two detectives went into a room with David Tronis and
Yeah, he's
worked
yapping,
him over. He sat there for 16 hours, bared his soul to them, literally and figuratively, told them what he knew, told them what he saw. The government's the one spinning here. The government's the one taking the insignificant and stacking them into a pyramid.
What the
and
fuck is he
I'm
on? The
confident
government?
that after carefully deliberating, that you'll come back and return the only just verdict in this case, and that's a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
Verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. So it says we all, dated at Orlando County, Orange County, Florida, on the 18th day of October 2023, signed by the foreperson.
In the midst of this tragedy, Shanti's impact as a mother was shown through her son Jackson. His victim impact statement was both heartrending and dignified.
Oh, no.
My family and I have been waiting for about 5 years for justice. I miss her so much. I would have never thought the day before was the last time I would see my mother alive. I miss the times where we would go to Universal, or just the simple times, like walking the dogs or going to the park. She was the best mom I could ever ask for.
Oh, it's so sad.
That's it.
Defense, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Jackson. Mr. Tronis, anything you wish to say prior to sentencing? I think you just said no, is that right? Okay. Then in this case, the court will adjudicate you guilty, will sentence you to life imprisonment. Luck to you, sir. And the court will be in recess.
This is his latest mugshot. He is currently being housed at the Graceville Correctional Facility in maximum security, where he is expected to remain.
Wow, what a story. Dude, the guy really thought he could get away with it. Did you know life isn't actually a life? It's 25 years? Really? What?